And that's going to do it, guys. That is the conclusion of the Microsoft Xbox press conference right there from the Microsoft Theater. Time for some reactions with our panel. So, guys, what did you think? We talked before about seeing a reimagined Halo. We've got a new Halo, or Halo Infinite, coming in holiday 2020 with a new console. Scarlett, is it everything you hoped it was going to be?
Well, I mean, I'm a little gutted that we didn't see the box or whatever architecture they're using, but I am very pleased that we got like a release window, which is exciting, and really makes me sort of think, when is the next PlayStation coming out? Is Xbox going to have that edge by coming out earlier that they had with the 360?
I can't imagine. It seems like Sony was at least talking about their specs. We'll have to get into it, but you're right. Sony hasn't set a release window. They said not this year, so it could come 2020 or 2021. There are also rumors that Xbox might have two different, I think, versions of it, and they only they sort of seem to talk about the one, right?
Yeah. It was very nebulous.
Yeah.
But Halo coming out as a launch game is very exciting, and again, I think that's a very big power move from. Well, when was the last time that happened? Was it the original Xbox?
I think,
yeah, it's been a second, so I'm pleased that that's the road they're going down. Yeah.
From a game perspective, Andy, when you see that was supposedly our glimpse of the next generation.
Yeah.
To blow you away. Were you blown away?
I mean, I think it looked good, right? I mean, I've seen some demos lately that I think are very impressive looking. A lot of games are looking great these days, right? So I mean, I think we have to see how it affects gameplay. Right. I mean, I think a lot of things they talk about in there, like how the SSD affects gameplay, how it's going to affect load times, how basically deal with interactions, AI, physics.
That was really just a real-time cutscene, sort of, is what we got.
Essentially, So I mean, it did look good, right? And I actually really enjoyed that. I felt like it had a bit of like a horror element.
Yeah, it was a little more visceral.
And so like
Halo's always been so sort of safe and
It felt different, which to me that was like a sign that they're thinking different about Halo, which I think is really important. But I mean, I think right now I always question if it's too early to be talking about new hardware. You know what I mean? Like when you're just like, hey, it's AMD, hey, it's got SSD, it's going to have, this many pixels, those things like that. That's great. But really, we want to see when the rubber hits the road. We want to see all the games that you can
next
do.
E3,
Yeah, next E3.
If there is an E3, hopefully. All right, Tyler, what was your take? You got to see a little, you mentioned Minecraft 4. Minecraft Dungeons.
Absolutely.
There was Lego Forza, kind of some random stuff like that. What did you think overall when you looked at the press conference? Were you excited?
Lots of Cubic games. I was really excited. Someone that works with a game that's typically skews younger audience, it was awesome to see the sheer level of diversity in game range, be it age, type of game itself. Dungeons was huge for me. I'm really excited for the top-down perspective. It kind of brings me back to Diablo days, where you've got that isometric view, and I grew up on that game, and to see it have a new, fresh coat of paint with the Minecraft brand is really something exciting, especially the class system.
Now, we're going to have a lot of the guests from that press conference coming by here live. We've got coverage all throughout the afternoon leading into Bethesda. But overall impressions, one thing that struck me is that they'd gone into this talking about 14 games from their first-party studios, and we saw Gears, we saw, Flight Sim, we saw other things. But in terms of big new first-party game announcements, didn't seem like there was a lot in terms of those. People were expecting, a bunch of other big games. Were you happy with what you saw in terms of new games and new content?
Yeah, I was happy. I was expecting a new Fable, to be honest. I just think that
heavily rumored,
Yeah, that was heavily rumored, and I think that would have kind of made it for me. But then, in terms of theatricality, we did have Keanu Reeves on stage announcing the Cyberpunk release date, and to be honest, like my brain just went flat.
And a little tidbit about Cyberpunk is Keanu, he's a big part of that game. I think some people were asking me if he's like, oh, is he just a cameo or something? No, I think we'll let CD Projekt reveal that as they want to, but I think he's definitely got kind of a bigger, substantial, meaty role in that game, which is pretty cool. And especially the fact that Cyberpunk, we actually have a release date, April next year, which is pretty amazing. So,
mind blown. Definitely.
That's going to be a big game, and they'll have a big demo again at the show. Anything else that stood out to you guys as games or things that you walk away saying oh, I'm really curious, I'm really excited about that? Did anything surprise you?
I mean, I'm excited about Elden Ring just because of the collaboration there between George R.R. Martin and Miyazaki. I think that makes it interesting all on its own. I was surprised by the Double Fine acquisition.
I know.
That was one of the things.
Yes, he's coming by. We'll have to ask him a little bit more about that, but that's cool.
That's good news for them. I'm glad to see Double Fine doing well, and I think that was, but I'm with you. I think that's the one thing I would have loved to have seen. Actually, Fable's interesting. I would love to have seen Fable, but I'm actually more interested in what would Microsoft do that's new?
Right.
I want to see a new IP from them, some new direction, some new gameplay ideas that they've got all this technology for and all these systems for, that they could show us what's next.
Yeah, and it's always a balance because they're trying to think about what they save for next year for the next box. But the one thing I wonder about with like Halo Infinite, I assume that's still going to be playable on the current Xboxes. So that'll be interesting to see, right? Because it's like coming for Project Scarlet, but I imagine your One X or your Xbox One, even the original Xbox One, will that play the game? Like, it's going to be a very different transition. If it's not like, oh, I have to buy that box to play that game, you can still keep playing it on stuff. Which is
or the question will be, will you be able to stream it to that box?
That's true.
When that game comes.
That's an interesting idea.
That is it. I mean, I think all those questions will be things that we face as we go towards this next round of consoles. But I do think all the games that come around new console launch, both Sony and Microsoft, will be most likely cross-gen.
Exactly. So it's just a little bit different, but it is interesting that they obviously have set the bar pretty high in terms of calling the ball, as you said, holiday 2020, next generation of Xbox, and then Game Pass and xCloud and all these different ways to stream. It's a pretty interesting time. So overall, how would you guys, Lucy, if you were to give them a grade, A, B, C, D, how would you grade what you saw from Xbox?
I would say that was a solid B+ for me.
Okay.
Yeah, like I thought it was great. It wasn't amazing.
Right. Okay, Andy?
I think you're right on. I think that is the right call. I think it felt long this year and lacked some of the excitement of previous years when they really were just like, here's games, and like we just kind of focused on games, and I just left like excited from that press conference. And this one, I'm like,
even this one, the open, sort of like people usually expect like a big surprise open, and it was kind of like, it's cool. And then the Ninja Theory game that had kind of leaked a little bit, so that was
the
like
leaks didn't help,
which is tougher for them, I think. But you expect like and even Gears, which is their big game for the holidays, to me at least felt like a little bit kind of sandwiched in the middle and stuff. And we didn't see campaign, which I was hoping to see kind of something more on.
I would agree with that.
Which was sort of I was disappointed that we didn't see more of Gears because it's been a whole year since we saw anything on that. And it's like, I mean, that new Escape sounds interesting, but yeah, that's another one that I guess is, seems Ori's next year now, so it seems like Gears 5 is like, that's the big game for Xbox fans.
And it's coming in September, so it's coming soon. You know what I mean? And to still be kind of at a loss, right, is definitely something.
Tyler, what would you grade it?
I give it a solid A-.
A-?
Okay. So I had
Bold
to go
take.
No, I think it's exciting to see the Xbox Game Pass and the just huge library of titles that's going to be available. Opening to PC gamers is huge there. Again, what really sold me was just the different diversity of games. And, there's a huge audience appeal to be able to hit all these different marks, young children, teenagers, etc. And you want that player base to grow with the platform, with the console. So to be able to have this offering is great for everyone as they age older and older into new games.
Yeah, well, it was overall, I think, a great showcase of a lot of games content. He said over 60 games there. And the world's changing, right? As Andy mentioned, like streaming, that's interesting. Like, do you even, will you even need this box next year, right? Because Google will tell you, hey, it's like, you already have it, right? You already have it, streamed. So it's like, you don't need to buy new hardware, right? So that's what's going to be interesting to see how it all plays up. But then it's things like the SSD, load times, all that. It's going to be interesting to see what 2020 brings. But yeah, I thought overall, like, it was a pretty solid lineup of stuff across the board from a lot of developers and a lot, you said Minecraft stuff, Smilegate doing, Crossfire, which is not necessarily known to a lot of people probably watching the stream, but it's a massive game, and it's, there are different audiences out there. So we'll see what's in store. But, what do you think Sony does now in response to that? Anything, Lucy?
I mean, I'm still anticipating Sony to just do a sneaky Last of Us 2 release date drop during this show at some point. But yeah, I think Xbox has laid out a lot of its cards, but definitely we don't know enough about Scarlet yet. It's still just so nebulous. I have no idea what they were talking about half the time when it came. Well, it
reminds me a lot of Project Scorpio. Right? It's the same playbook, right? Where they have this like, gray backdrop, people talking about the vision, the same thing like Project something.
Exactly, very high-level language where you can't kind of pass what they're actually saying. So yeah, I think there's still some room for PlayStation to come back swinging, and yeah, I mean, I don't know what they do directly in response to this because again, there just isn't enough
I think they have the benefit of sort of they can decide to hold their cards closer. And they also have a lot of big PlayStation 4 games coming out still, right? With Last of Us and Death Stranding and all that. So it's like, it's an interesting time as the world changes. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's gonna, as Andy said, it's going to change with all this streaming and all that.
Well, exactly.
And playing games on multiple systems. So, with Halo, you may not be as compelled to buy the next one because you can play it on your current system, right? So that's going to be like interesting to see how it all plays out. So
that will be interesting.
We shall see. All right, guys. Well, thanks for the reactions. We got Bethesda coming up a little bit later at 5:30. We'll see what they've got. We know that there'll be Doom Eternal and much more.